Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. This is part two of the English translation of a talk by Mufti Taqi Usmani. May Allah Ta'ala preserve him. The third sign of a perfect Iman, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described, was that if a person loves someone, they love them purely for the sake of pleasing Allah Ta'ala. One such love, which is obviously for Allah's sake, is when someone loves people who are close to Allah, whom we call Waliullah. If a person loves them, not with the intention of using the relationship with them for any material gain, but with the pure intention of learning how to get closer to Allah Ta'ala, then this love would be for Allah's sake. People generally think that loving one's parents, one's spouse, one's siblings, one's children, or one's friends are all worldly affairs. They have nothing to do with deen. However, by changing one's perspective slightly, a person can turn all these relationships into ibadat, i.e., acts of worship. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that if a person lovingly looks at his parents once, then Allah Ta'ala will grant him the sawab of one Hajj and one Umrah. Superficially, it appears that we love our parents because it is a natural instinct. But if a person does it with the niyat that Allah Ta'ala and His Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have commanded us to love our parents, then the same act becomes an ibadat, an act of worship. Another example is that of loving one's spouse. A person may love their spouse because of a natural inclination. However, if they make an intention or niyat that they are loving their spouse because Allah Ta'ala and Allah Ta'ala's Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have ordered us to be good to our spouses, then this will also fall under loving for Allah's sake. It takes a lot of practice to change one's intent from doing things to please oneself to doing activities to please Allah Ta'ala. When a person goes to a Sufi for tazkiyah, that is purification of inner self, they make the person practice this change of intention so that while their relationships stay, their perspective changes so that they love those same people now for the sake of pleasing Allah Ta'ala. Hazrat Dr. Abdullahi Rahmatullah Alayhi used to say that it took him years of practice to change his intention. For example, when he entered the house and felt very hungry, he would stop himself from starting to eat. He would first think that he would not eat just because he was feeling hungry. He would then reflect that Allah Ta'ala has bestowed some rights of our nafs, our inner self, upon us, and that it was the sunnah of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when food was presented before him, that he thanked Allah Ta'ala and then ate it. And then Dr. Abdullahi Rahmatullah would remind himself that he also wanted to follow that sunnah, and then he would start eating the food. This is how he changed his perspective. Similarly, when he entered his house and saw the children playing, he felt like picking the children up, hugging them, and playing with them. But he stopped himself and reminded himself that he won't love the child because he felt like it. Then he would think that the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to love children. Once the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was delivering Jummah khutbah in Masjid al-Nabwi when he saw Hazrat Hassan and Hazrat Hussain radiallahu anhuma, who were very young then, get into the masjid. The Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam immediately stepped down from the pulpit and picked them up. So loving children and playing with them are among the sunnah of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Dr. Abdul Hayy Rahmatullah would remind himself that he will now love his child and play with them following this sunnah. There couldn't be an easier way of turning deen into dunya into deen. That is, the person keeps doing the same thing that he has been doing, but just with a new perspective and intention. But this change of intention requires ongoing practice and reminding oneself at every step why they are doing any particular activity. With practice, inshallah, a time will come when all of a person's relationships will be for Allah's sake. The question is, how can we tell if our relationships have now become secondary to our relationship with Allah Ta'ala? If there comes a time when we have to let go of our worldly relationships because this is the demand of our relationship with Allah, and we are able to do so, then it means that other relationships have become truly secondary to our relationship with Allah Ta'ala. The fourth sign of a perfect Iman, as described by the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is that if a person becomes angry, they only become angry for Allah Ta'ala's sake. It means that if that person becomes angry with someone, it's not because they don't like them personally, but because they are doing something which displeases Allah Ta'ala. The anger is not personal, rather, it is anger for Allah's sake. Wise elders have said that we should hate the sin, but not the sinner. If a person is involved in committing sins, it is his actions which are despicable, not his person. We should be angry with the actions, not with the person committing those acts. If anything, we should take pity on him, just like people sympathize with people who are sick. If somebody is afflicted with the sickness of sin, then we should not hate them or become angry with them because they are sick. If we start hating a sick person, then he will look after them. And how do we know that we hate the sin and not the sinner? We'll know it if we can let go of all our anger and hate and start loving that person. If he gives up that sin. Look at the sunnah of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in this regard. Hazrat Veshi anhu was the person who martyred Hazrat Hamza radiallahu anhu, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's beloved uncle. Hazrat Hinda radiallahu anha was the person who tried to chew Hazrat Hamza's liver. Yet when they both embraced Islam, they became the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brother and sister in Islam. Today, with both of their names, we say radiallahu anhu or radiallahu anha, which means may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with them. The reason was that the anger wasn't directed at their person, the anger was directed at their actions. Once they repented sincerely and performed Tawbah, then the anger subsided completely. The anger which is for Allah Ta'ala's sake only does not breed enmity. The reason is that the person he's being angry with knows that this angry person has nothing against my person. He's not my enemy. Whatever he's saying is for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. That is why the receiver of that anger does not get angry or upset. If it means that if a person loves someone, they love them for the sake of Allah. And if they're angry with them, they're angry with them only for the sake of Allah. May Allah Ta'ala grant us this blessing that all our relationships are solely for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين